Who's ready to dive into May? Okay, our last month of the academic school year. Woohoo! All right, so if you've been following along in community, you might have seen that Nathaniel just now recently completed his May chalkboard. This one was a long time coming, so I don't have a picture of it to like show you. Usually I'm able to like open up a page of the book, but he just finished that. So look in the feed of the community and you'll see it is a beautiful scene of the songs of spring when fairies are making flower crowns in the field. And it is just really, really lovely. One of those scenes that you just want to be there with them. It is so sweet. So it is really gorgeous. And another thing to note is that that will be featured in your May kits. So May kits are now available for purchase individually. You have until Wednesday the 15th, so in like 2 days, to snag one if you're not a subscriber. So if you want to grab a standalone May kit, you can do that for the next 2 days. Otherwise, that deadline cuts off and you will get to see the May chalkboard in the box. It was actually the deadline. His deadline to finish that artwork was the box for your supply kits. So you guys will get to see that beautifully. It is really, really beautiful. I can't wait for you to see that box. And another quick, just practical note for the May kit. We had a similar thing like with the April. We weren't able to include the Easter baskets because it was kind of an expensive, bulky thing. For your May kit, it will not include the wash basin or the washboard for your laundry activity at the end of the month. You can definitely make do without those things with a sink. You can really use whatever you have. Obviously, those things are kind of bigger things that we can't fit in a box. But I'm confident that you will be able to still enjoy that activity with whatever you have at home. But just a little note, if you do want to get a really cute basin and washboard, you can, yes, check your thrift shops. You know, they're around to find. So just a little note on your planning, if you're a kit subscriber or planning to get that kit, that you won't see a giant wash basin in your box. But you'll have everything else that you need, of course, all right? So May is our last month of spring, our last month of the academic year. Lots of flowers, lots of celebration, lots of lovely things, and lots of yummy things coming as well. Okay, so in May, we have the Flower Festival, we have Butter Week, Honey Week, and Bubble Week. Really, really lovely, a lot of fun. So if you were here for spring planning, you might remember that I do suggest for our May Week 1 Flower Festival. This is very much a May Day festival. We have the Maypole and they're dancing around. So if you want to align this to May Day, I do suggest starting this week at the end of April, I think April 27th or 28th. May 1st is on a Friday, so it'll love, like all of our festival days are always on day 3 of the curriculum. So it always kind of culminates and builds to that last day of the week to celebrate your festival. Same thing with our May Day, our Flower Festival celebration here. So if you want that to align close to that Friday, May 1st, actual May Day, you'll want to start this week, the last week of April, around the 26th, 27th. So that you lead up to that day. Of course, you can do this whenever you would like, but just a note for planning, just kind of a little reminder. Of course, also a reminder, if you want to hear more full details of dates and planning, go listen to the spring planning live stream. All right. And so yes, so May Week 1 Flower Festival is our May Day celebration. It is a really, really lovely story. This is also a star turning week. Yay! So this is where we will turn our star from dark green to light green, because May is our light green color, right? So it is our mid-spring star turn. So with these, we like to use the tune of our Seasons Come, Seasons Go song, but I kind of sing it slower in this reverent little thing as I turn our star. So I will sing a sample of this mid-spring star turning song with me. Are you ready? Seasons come and seasons go. With our star we turn to show. The springtime now is halfway through. Summer's on its way to you. So you can picture just turning your little star and singing your little song. So now we welcome mid-spring. It is a halfway point between spring and summer. A very beautiful way to celebrate halfway. All right, so Flower Festival, we have our overview here, and we have a lot of yummy, lovely, fun things. The story is really sweet as well. So our story is, of course, the Flower Festival story, and it opens up with the fairies making flower crowns in the field. Tourmaline comes to get Hamilton, and he takes her over, and that's where you get the beautiful May chalkboard scene that Nathaniel just finished with fairies making flower crowns, and you have the song, Songs of Spring. And this song, especially when you get to hear it in the audiobooks, you'll see how it's all the fairies kind of taking turns singing this beautiful song. And a fun little part of this story is this is also actually a celebration of Rudabug's birthday. He is our spring gnome, and so this is a birthday celebration for him. So we hoist up the Maypole, as they call it in Wondergarten, and they dance around the ring, and they celebrate our burly, lovable spring gnome Rudabug with a lovely flower festival. And a fun other thing about this is the gnomes actually switch their hats from pointy hats to pointy flowers. So little fun visual of gnomes wearing actual little flowers on their heads, and then of course fairies with flower crowns. And then our songs this week, Songs of Spring and Dance a Merry Ring. Sorry, I had a little child peeking in. So two very fun songs. Dance a Merry Ring is a lovely one to learn and dance and sing around the Maypole. It's really a Maypole song, so really fun. Okay, question here, do I have any recommendations to where to find one of those enamel wash basins at a good price? I have found some on Amazon, but that's hit or miss. So if I might look through and maybe share a link if I can find a good one for you. Or, Ace Hardware, thrift stores, great. All right, so let's dive into our activities for the week. So in May Week 1, Flower Festival Week, we're going to open up with our modeling day. Of course, if you're familiar, this is a day we usually do modeling, maybe Play-Doh, but because it is a springy, flowery week, we're going to do some modeling beeswax. This is so fun, I actually have this right here. I'm gonna start from the top. Bleep. Guess who made this? Nathaniel, of course. So modeling beeswax is a little bit more of an advanced modeling medium from Play-Doh. So if you have like a 2-year-old, this might still be too hard for their little hands. You do have to like warm it up with your hands, or if it's a lovely sunny day, go outside with it. Or if you have an oven, I have an oven that goes to like 90 degrees that can kind of warm this up without melting it. So it does take some work, but you can create lovely, beautiful little things from it. So it is up to you. Again, this can be something that if you prefer to just stick with Play-Doh, you can reuse some Play-Doh from earlier weeks, but modeling beeswax is a great hand strengthening for all those pre-writing skills and all of that. So it is a really fun, just to expose those children to new ways to model and create, because with each different medium, they create lots of different things. Then our main lesson for day 1 is fairy maypoles. So this is kind of an opportunity to create small world play and invite your children into small world play for a few reasons. One, I know that not everyone will be able to actually get a maypole in their yard to be able to do a true maypole festival, though I do have a few tips to make that pretty manageable if you want. But this is such a fun way to bring children into small world play. So I have a sample here. This is what you will find in our May kits. You get this lovely little kit to make this little May ring, and you can tie. So the activity here would be creating this together, screwing it together. This is great fine motor for them to tie their ribbons here around the maypole. And this is also doesn't have to be exactly this way. So if you're not getting one of these, this can also be a use what you have. It could be as simple as a stick with some ribbons stuck in Play-Doh or beeswax to just get that up and to create a little scene, make your little puppets, and create a little small world play. Tip, if you have your rainbow wands back from March, you could totally use that. Put that in some Play-Doh, and there you have a nice little maypole. So use whatever you have, use whatever you want, but take this opportunity to kind of enjoy creating this scene in small world play, to bring it to life to them, to play it out in a way that feels accessible to them, so that regardless if you're able to do the maypole dance and maypole festival in real life, they can really begin to imagine it in small world. You can paint some puppets if you haven't already, all of those things. So a really fun little small world play prompt to make your own little toys. So you can use what you have, you can use a little kit, whatever you prefer. Oh my gosh, I just missed all of these chats. All right, lots of good suggestions happening in the chat. Thank you all for taking care of each other while I continue here. So day 1, beeswax, fairy maypoles. And then day 2, we're going to start making our flower crown bases. And I'm actually going to show you, this is going to be a little bit more of a demonstration because this does use that floral wire. I know a few of us had some trouble with our cherry blossom activity back in March. So I wanted to just show you this one in more specific detail. So this is a 2-part activity. On day 2 morning, you'll make the flower crown base. And then on day 3, your festival day is where you'll actually put your flowers in. Of course, that's our festival day, and these will be cut flowers for your flower crown, so they're not gonna last a day. So you don't wanna make the flower crown the day before because all the flowers will wilt. But this is the kind of a 2-step process. Now, when you're making your flower crown base, this is one of those activities that I really encourage you to approach kind of with appropriate mindsets. This is one that you are making with your children, and making these bases isn't something that I'm going to expect a 3-year-old to do on their own, but I'm inviting you to be with them, next to them, and even if it comes to simply them watching you do some handwork and braid this little flower crown base, that is also valuable because this is a connection point activity. This is you working together, preparing for your festival the next day. And if you have a little one, even if they're just watching you quietly work on the preparations, that is good too. That is something that is valuable and that I'm intentionally encouraging here. So don't come to this activity and say, why can't my 2-year-old do this on their own? That's not the point. But what I do love about this activity is that by creating this base, when it comes to putting the flowers in, then they get this chance to be a little more independent with decorating their flower crowns. So it's a lovely kind of 2-part thing. So what you're doing here is you're taking your floral wire. Now I want you to look at this floral wire. Maybe let's do a top down here. And see how easy this is to bend. I think the main problem that a lot of you ran into with your cherry blossoms was maybe too thick of a gauge of wire. So when you get a floral wire for this activity, you want to be able to very easily mold it with your hands, all right? So this is one that you should be able to, again, easily mold, easily bend. You should not need floral, needle nose pliers. You should not need pliers to do this, okay? So to make your flower crown base, you are just going to be braiding 3 strands, and you want them, decently long here because as you braid, it kind of gets shorter. So this is just a simple braid, and with these kind of long wires, it can kind of be, you kind of have to detangle as you go, but you can just work on braiding these. Now, this is a great way to show your children, if they've never seen you braid, if they've never seen how a braid works, how you're going over into the middle with each time so they can begin to help you. You can have your child, okay, come get this outside one and put it in the middle so they can absolutely join you in this. Or if they're still really little, they can just watch you create with your hands, and that is valuable too. So you're going to go ahead and braid this. Now, once you have it all the way braided, the next part is the important part that you're going to come and separate these little braided parts. So let's do top down again, and we're going to just open up these braided sections right here. We're just gonna go, and this is a great place for your children to get involved too. So we're opening up this braid so we have this nice open weave for our flower crowns, and those are gonna be where those flowers are gonna go. So once you have that, and once you have it all the way braided, you'll measure it to your child's head, snip it, twist it off, right? And then we'll finish off the decorating the next day. Okay, any questions for this part of this activity, the braiding of the floral wire? All right. What do you do with crowns for boys? We do the crowns for boys. They wear the flower crowns too, and it's really fun. You'll see even in our photo, even in our book, all the boys, we're all wearing flower crowns together. It's a lovely day. All right, any questions on the braiding specifically and kind of how this pulls apart? Otherwise, I will move on to our next part. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside because you will set it aside, and then we'll come back to it on festival morning, okay? So then we're on day 2, baking day, and we get to essentially bake flower crown bread. It is so fun. So this is our festival bread for our flower festival, and we're essentially making flower crown bread, which is so fun. So this is, if you just were with us for our Easter activities, this will be familiar. This is the same recipe, I believe, or a very similar recipe for this big, sweet, lovely bread, but a few little changes. We're not doing sprinkles, and we're making it a lemon glaze. So it's a nice kind of bright lemon, kind of this lovely kind of floral. And then we're gonna decorate it with edible flowers to make this beautiful flower crown bread. Now, tip on edible flowers, make sure you're getting true edible flowers that were grown to be edible. Don't just grab an edible variety from like a bouquet because they might be sprayed with stuff. So just be mindful of where you're sourcing your flowers. Of course, if you're growing some in your backyard, that's gonna be nice and safe. So and you don't actually have to like eat the flower, but since it is touching our bread, we just wanna make sure those are healthy choices. But otherwise you get to create this beautiful braid. I do have some tips on how to make this braid a nice big braid. You actually separate it into 6, do 2 different strands of 3. You make 2 braids and then connect them to make your nice big loaf. And of course, this is sized for a crowd, so don't be surprised when this is a big loaf. If you do not want it so big, you can cut this recipe in half. All of our festival breads are made for a festival, made for a crowd, and they're delicious, so I never am mad to have lots of bread. But if you did feel like the Easter bread was way too much for your family, cut this recipe in half. So, beautiful little braided loaf, topped with lemon glaze and topped with flowers. And then everything is ready for our flower festival. All right, so now we're to our day 3 morning activity where we are assembling our flower crowns, and I'll show you how lovely this is. So our part 1 of making this, of course, a little more detailed, might be a little more challenging for younger kids, but something that your children can absolutely join you in or observe you creating. But then why I love this approach to making flower crowns is because then your children can go pick flowers and they can just stick their flowers in and then they stay. And you can kind of pinch it down if you want, but it just becomes such a nice and easy way for children to pick flowers and just pop them in. You can also, if you want, weave the stem. If you have any leftover stem here, you can weave it through to kind of secure that and pinch it through. So then your children can go pick flowers. Obviously you want to make sure you have some flowers for them to pick. So whether that's going to a field of even dandelions or daisies or getting a few flowers in your garden, have them go pick flowers and stick them into their little flower crowns. And this is a lovely way for them to be able to make this part of the flower crown independently. There are also a lot of other ways to make a flower crown. You can of course weave the actual flowers together, but those seem to be even trickier in my opinion. So I love that they are able to just pop their little flowers in their flower crowns. All right, lots of good edible flower recommendations happening on the chat. So thank you all for that, okay? Now, once you have your flower crowns made, then you get to enjoy your flower festival. Enjoy celebrating the halfway point between spring and summer. If you want to sing happy birthday to Rudabug, you can. But otherwise, enjoy your flower crowns, enjoy your flower bread. If you can, have a pole to get some ribbons and dance around. It is really fun. In this photo, little recommendation for a very easy backyard maypole, a tetherball pole is wonderful. So in this photo, this is a white tetherball pole. It literally just screwed into our grass. We just untied the tetherball and tied some ribbons and it worked beautifully. So I'll probably share a link to that in the community at some point because this one was so lovely. And then the rest of the summer we got to enjoy it as a tetherball, which was fun too. So highly recommend if you are looking for an easy backyard maypole, tetherball pole is the way to go. You can also use trees or whatever, or some of you might live near festivals where they're hosting maybe a May Fair or a May Festival or something along those lines where you might be able to see a big one. So. But it is worth trying to do because it is really lovely. Now, if you want, you can just all go, grab a ribbon and run the same direction and just kind of go around the maypole. Or if you want to get fancy, you could have different children or different people going opposite directions, and that's where you really be able to get it to weave together into this beautiful, beautiful thing. All right. So then we have it, and that is a festival day. Turn your star, enjoy your bread, celebrate spring in its full bloom, and enjoy that day.